Hi everyone, today I want to go over some Windows optimization tricks that you can do with Windows 10. The first thing I want to go over is something really simple that everybody should be able to do, and it makes a pretty big difference either on a laptop or desktop, doesn't really matter. Uh, the first thing you want to do is just open a run box. You can do this by going to the start menu, just type in run, hit enter, and then you're going to type in msconfig, all one word. Wait until a little box opens up, it may take a second. Go to boot, advanced, and check this little box right here, and then just hit the down arrow. Make sure you just press all the number of processors you have on your CPU. That could be 2, that could be 4, that could be 8, even 16. Go ahead and hit apply, okay, and then exit without restart because we're going to do a couple other things. The next thing I want to talk about, a lot of people would typically use CCleaner to do a lot of just like temporary files and just cleaning stuff out. I totally recommend. As good as CCleaner was, it's kind of going by the wayside since another company had purchased it. I recommend Glary as a possible alternative. It's basically like its bigger, better brother. For most computers, when I'm working tickets and stuff like that, I'll just do the one-click maintenance, go ahead and run it, and it's fairly quick even on older systems, so it'll go through relatively quickly and find and diagnose any problems. But this will go through and get rid of some temp files, any registry keys that no longer are active, so it'll get rid of those. And then it'll go through stuff in app data as well and just clear a bunch of stuff out. And like I said, it's very quick, works really quickly. I don't have much stuff on here because it's a virtual machine that I just made. So no worries. Go ahead and click repair, and it'll go back through and make sure all those problems go away. So that's a simple software to use. Cleans out your computer and does a pretty good job at optimizing everything. Another thing most people don't realize is most programs, when they get installed, will start up with your computer. This can add a lot of latency with your computer booting, as well as just using system resources because it runs in the background. To disable these, you can go ahead and right-click your toolbar down here, go to Task Manager, go to Startup, and anything in here that says Status Enabled, if you recognize it, go ahead and you could probably disable it. I basically just, if I recognize it and it doesn't need to start up with the computer, just go ahead and disable it. Other things, you may have to do some research and finding out what they are. I would totally recommend, if you don't know what something is, you can disable it, restart the computer. If you notice something is kind of out of whack, then you know that, hey, it's just that one thing. Re-enable it and fix that problem. But the majority of stuff probably doesn't need to start up with the computer. If you have an antivirus like WebRoot, Kaspersky, God forbid McAfee, or even... it's not even coming to me. But if you have an antivirus, leave that on. Same thing with this down here, Windows Security Notification. I just leave that on because that's probably something to do with Windows Defender, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, majority of that can probably be disabled. Another piece of software that I totally recommend for optimizing your computer as a whole is optimizing your browser. Majority of people are going to be using Chrome or Firefox. Firefox is still an excellent choice. Google Chrome steals a lot of data, and I'm not a big fan of Google. So, alternative that I recommend to people is going to be Brave. It's a lot more security focused if you care about your data. And it's a simple transition as well. It's a Chromium-based browser, so if you have any extensions that work with Chrome, they will also work with this browser, which is excellent. And I'll show you the built-in ad blocker. So if we go to speedtest.net, let me go to it again. You can see there's nothing here, which is wonderful. Does a trick. And another thing I would pair with that is going to be a Chrome extension. We'll just go to extensions or just Chrome Store. And then go ahead and type in uBlock. And you should be looking for something called uBlock Origin. This blocks a lot of background scripts that can run, some malicious, some not. Some that are just annoying. Pairing these two together, you will never see an ad. You will never get anything malicious that pops up. It does a very, very good job at securing your browser. Even for a basic person or a basic user, this is excellent. Recommend this to anybody. Another thing that tends to happen, at least even in enterprise and in personal level usage of computers, been doing IT for roughly 2 years at this point, and I've come to realize that a lot of people will install things without uninstalling other programs, or they'll just keep hoarding them as time goes on, as a lot of people do. You forget that you installed something. But that's another point where you can use a lot of resources if it starts with your computer, and also you can actually use a lot of storage on your computer just in programs. So I totally recommend just uninstalling them when you can. I use a program called Geek Uninstaller. And I'll just show you the website in case you want to look it up. And I typically just do the zip file because not everybody has 7-zip installed, but most of the time you have zip installer. This program is absolutely wonderful for uninstalling stuff. It finds a lot of the registry keys that are no longer being used. It also goes through temp files and gets rid of them as well. But let's say one click. Let's uninstall Glary. It's just uninstall. And yeah, remove them. I'll reboot later. But you can see it finds some stuff in the C drive. Excellent. I'll find a good example of. So here's a prime example. It'll go through the registry and find the keys that it installed with. And it'll make sure to get rid of them. This is great. Keeps your registry clean and from getting corrupted. So highly recommend this program. It also works wonders for applications like, prime example would be McAfee, where most of the time you can't just uninstall it because it's running and some people can't figure out how to disable it on the boot. So this is great because you can literally right click something, go to force removal, and because you're running as administrator, it will force the program to close. And it may take a couple minutes, but it'll do the trick, and it just goes through and makes sure that, hey, it's uninstalled for sure. Gets rid of all services, all apps running. It's wonderful. It's a great little program, highly recommended. If you don't want to use that, that's fine. You could always do it the other way, which is through Control Panel that I typically use. Go to Control, open that up. Go to a little search over here, and just type in Program. Go to Program and Features, and then this is where everything's installed, or at least location to uninstall it. Then you just go ahead and right-click on Install. Yep. Yeah. But my rule of thumb is, if I haven't used a program in about a year or so, I will just uninstall it. Some of the stuff that gets installed with like laptops and stuff like that may be like Dell, HP, and it might say stuff like Windows up or like Dell updates, firmware, and stuff like that. Some of the stuff honestly doesn't need to be installed because it's already built into Windows in general. It's just another way, I'm guessing, to get user data, email, stuff like that. Go through it, do some research on what each program does, and just uninstall it if you can. Worst case scenario, if you really don't know what a program does, and you're not really sure, but you don't think you need it, go down to the Start menu, and just make a restore point. Restore, create a restore point. This is awesome. If you like your computer settings and you want to change something, but you want to be able to revert it really fast, this is how you do it. Search restore and come down to this option right here. It says create. I typically just name it the date, so 7/14/2021, and I don't know, maybe 7 p.m. Create. And this will go through and create an image of what your computer looks like at that certain point in time. And then let's say you want to install something and it totally breaks everything. No big deal. You come back into here, go to System Restore, the recommended restore. Sometimes people have multiple, so I'll just go to choose different restore point. And then look at there. I have the date and time when this thing was backed up, so I know right away that, hey, that's probably what I'm looking for. And then you do next and just reboot and let it do its thing. And it'll restore it to how it was in that moment. So another thing the majority of people won't touch when it comes to Windows, they're just going to be the general settings, because a lot of people are not sure what they do. But Windows settings in general, there's a lot of stuff that just doesn't need to run at all. So getting to the Windows settings, you can either hit the Windows key and I, this will open the settings, or you can do the old-fashioned way, go to Start menu, and hit the little gear icon, and just wait till it says settings if you're not sure. And then once you're in here, easiest way, you can either type in, see if I can spell, background apps, or just apps in general. Come down. You know what? I was probably looking for the other thing. All right, so I lied. We're going to go to background and then background apps. Typically, everything in here, you're pretty good to go ahead and turn off. This stuff gets started with Windows and just runs in the background. Whether you need it or not, it's a good idea to just turn these off. majority of stuff anyway. Like, all right, let's say example, like, let's say I need to use a calculator. If I just type in calculator, guess what? It turns right on. So there's no need to have it running in the background. I don't see it. I've never had a problem with that. Let's see, general settings. All this stuff can be turned off because it's related to your, I believe it tracks some like web history and stuff like that. Speech, this is for speech detection. If you don't use any kind of like dictation software, you can go ahead and turn this off. Ink and typing, this is a clever way to basically say, oh, we're going to be logging what you type. I just turn this off. You don't need that. Diagnostic feedback, I turn a lot of this stuff off too. I don't feel like I need it. Activity history, this is a clever way of we're going to track your history. Go ahead and turn this off. Same with location, you don't need to know where I'm at. Camera, this is a case-by-case basis, only because if I turn this off and let's say you use Discord, Teams, Skype, Zoom, Cisco, any kind of meeting software, if you turn this off, it will basically show that your camera's black. Or you could just, yeah, you know what, I would just leave this on if you use your camera all the time, and then go in here and just turn it off by whatever you do and don't use. So let's say I just use Skype, then I only want Skype enabled. It's an easy way to do it. I would just leave this on. Same thing with microphone. It's a kind of a pain if you don't remember if you turn this on or off. Just only turn on the applications that you need. Notifications, I turn this off because this is the action center over here. This is where you get pinged for like things installing. Oh, you have an update. I just turn this stuff off. Let's see. Accounts and info, allow apps. So the majority of the stuff from here down is just going to be saying, hey, would you like programs to access this, this, and this? 90% of these you don't need to have on. Again, they run in the background. They don't really do anything of purpose unless I've yet to run into something that requires this. I personally believe you'd probably be fine if you just turn them all off. No problem. As far as everything else goes, the gaming for Xbox, I turn a lot of this stuff off too because most people aren't going to be capturing clips and stuff like that. I go ahead and turn the game mode off. Windows game mode. I've heard this works and doesn't work. I would play around with it if you're really not sure. This basically optimizes your, well, as it says, for games. I've not noticed a difference on my gaming PC, so it's just something to play around with it. The majority of other things on here, I would just leave on, except for maybe phone. I've seen some people use this. You can leave this on or off. But for the most part, that's all you need to do. And then you can exit out of this screen. The last thing I want to talk about is something I'll put down in the description. This is a script. It became pretty popular over the past couple of years. This is a deep loading script that gets rid of a lot of the unnecessary fat of the operating system. And this one is made, this script is by Chris Titus here on YouTube. Definitely, I'll link him down in the description as well. Go check him out. This script is amazing. Especially, it's a one-stop shop for hardening your system, making it more secure, and just overall just running much better. So the first thing you're going to do is you're just going to open PowerShell, run as administrator, yes, and then copy the paste the script into the PowerShell window, Control V, enter. And this will probably take a second depending on your computer, but what it's going to do, it's going to download it from, I believe it's the GitHub repository, down onto your computer. Okay, and then once that's done, you'll get this GUI interface. Everything on the left here is just going to be some really good pieces of software that I totally agree with being added in here. They're really good recommendations for just stuff that is either open source. It's makes your computer a lot more secure, or it's just incredibly useful. I would, on your own time, just go through and just see what each one of these are, and you might find something you like. The things that I like to do are essentially just essential tweaks. This disables a lot of like telemetry tests in the background that will run and just basically give back information to Microsoft. It's just basically taking your data. So if you do the essential tweaks, the first thing that this thing is going to do, this is going to create a restore point. So like we said before, if let's say something does happen, your system doesn't run right after, go ahead and open the system, or just open restore. Go to, actually I'll show you, restore, create a restore point, and then system restore, choose a different restore point, and then you'll see in here what the latest one or what the newest one was, and then hit next, finish, and then it'll basically just bring it back before the changes were made. So, and what's great is you can see as it goes through what it's exactly doing. Like I said, it's going to disable a lot of stuff that just doesn't need to run. A lot of stuff that makes your computer more susceptible to viruses, stuff like that. And just, again, stuff that just doesn't need to run. I personally just go through here and I just do all of them because I don't like a lot of stuff running in the background. So I disable the Action Center. I disable background apps, which we already did. Disable Cortana. That's a must. I haven't met anybody who uses it. Some people seem to like it, but I'm not a big fan. I uninstall OneDrive. Dark mode's essential. And for the Windows updates, I totally agree with what he was, at least what he said in his video. I do exactly what he suggests, which is the default settings. Basically, if I remember correctly, it's going to wait a week or something like that before it downloads an update. Just because lately Windows hasn't been doing a very good job with fixing their updates before they get pushed out. So I would go ahead and do that along with the security updates only. These are a lot of, I would say, essential tweaks to make to your Windows 10 operating system. And this, between all these little tweaks and stuff like that, should make a very big difference to your experience with your computer. If you have any questions, let me know. Like I said, I'll link everything down in the description. All right, take care. Have a good one.